Did Sony come out with a TV that knocks out the competition for 2022? Sit back, relax, and let's dive into this review. 2022 is the year of new technology. From the Samsung S95B to the Sony A95K QD-OLED, it seems like it's sweeping the market with the latest technology. The Sony A95K comes in 55-inch version and a 65-inch. So this is Sony's first attempt at QD-OLED technology. I'm going to talk about the picture later in this video, but first I want to go ahead and cover the Sony remote. This remote is one of the best remotes that I have seen in 2022. Reason being is because it's a lot slimmer, no numbers, and we have a settings button that you can easily go into your settings. It's backlit and it has a Google Finder if you somehow lose your remote. The TV also comes with a Bravia cam, which during my experience of the review of the TV, it absolutely was useless. I have no way of knowing how it works. The only thing that I know of is you have to download an app, a Google Duo, to do video conferencing. But other than that, the camera does absolutely nothing. So switching to the HDMI inputs, you have two HDMI 2.1 full bandwidth. That will be an HDMI 3 eARC and an HDMI 4. And the other two are HDMI 2.0. You also can use this TV as a center speaker, so you can plug up speaker wires to it. Or if you buy one of the Sony soundbars, you can also use the TV as part of this home theater system, which you can find in other YouTube videos. For me, I haven't used that option because I already have a dedicated home theater. But I have tried the TV speakers, and one thing I can say that they are one of the best sounding speakers that I have witnessed out of any TVs in 2022. Now, going back to the HDMI inputs. So if you have a Sony from 2021 or even the Sony 2022, Sony only has two HDMI 2.1 inputs. And the only way that you can enable, if anyone who is a gamer, you have to go to the HDMI settings, you have to go to HDMI signal format, and you have to select HDMI 3 and 4 for 4K 120. That would be enhanced VRR. Or if you want to watch Dolby Vision, you would have to select enhanced format Dolby Vision. Now, if you don't want to have 4K 120 VRR, you do have the option to do 4K 120, and that would be the enhanced format. So one thing that I'm going over, and I'm going to harp over the negative about not only the Sony A95K, but all the Sony TVs, is that you have to constantly have to toggle between the settings if you're dependent on these HDMI 2.1s. So if you don't have a receiver that have a HDMI 2.1 inputs, or you have a soundbar hooked up to it, you have to constantly have to toggle between the settings to switch from 4K 120 VRR or Dolby Vision. You just can't have them all in one specific selection. So hopefully for next year, for 2023, Sony could come up with a better chip from MediaTek that they get their supplies from, and hopefully they'll solve that issue where you don't have to constantly toggle between each HDMI. So switching to sound, if you plan on connecting this TV to an AV receiver or a soundbar, you do have to use HDMI 3 eARC, and you have to go into the settings for picture and sound. To enable the pass-through from your TV to your soundbar or your AV receiver, you do have to enable eARC mode and switch from off to auto. And you also have to enable the pass-through mode where you have to switch from off to auto. One thing I really can say about the 2022 Sony A95K, I have absolutely no issues with the eARC, which is great news. But I will mention this. I was running into a quirk where when I had the TV off, for some apparent reason, it was cutting on my receiver for whatever reason, and then it was cutting off. So one thing, I just had to throw that out there for anyone who is having this TV connected to your receiver. Sometimes when your TV is off, it just randomly cuts on your receiver for no apparent reason. So I had to throw this out there. It is a bug. Hopefully Sony will address that in a later firmware update, but I just want to make sure people are aware of it. But besides that, I had no issue with sound dropout when it comes to the eARC portion. So if you do decide to buy the Sony A95K, which each Sony A95K you do have the option to get 10 free tokens for the Bravia app or tickets where you could purchase any movies within the Bravia app application on a Google TV. So this is good news for anyone who is looking to buy this TV. Sony give this as a option or pretty much a reward for buying their TVs. So switching over gaming. So if you see my previous video on the Sony A95K, I mentioned that the Sony A95K is a very capable TV that competes with Samsung and LG TVs. But the only negative that I really had with the Sony A95K TV is some of the lack of the gaming features, which I mentioned in my previous video. But besides that, it is a very capable TV. One of the best pictures that I have seen of Samsung that I reviewed this year, including the S95B. And I will say, when it comes to picture quality wise, if you're really into that, this is the TV to choose. When it comes to gaming features, if you're buying this TV dedicated to gaming, this is something that I will go ahead and pivot this TV to go ahead and buy the Samsung S95B. The Sony A95K is a great TV, but if you're buying this TV purely for gaming, the S95B may be a better option, or even the LG series. So let's go ahead and talk about picture. The Sony A95K have one of the best pictures that I have seen out of any 2022 TVs to date. And one thing that I could say, that if you're on the fence between getting the Sony A95K or the S95B and you don't want to tweak any type of picture settings, the Sony A95K may be a better option for you. If you're not into gaming and you're purely into movie watching, looking at content, media, sports, the Sony A95K may be a better option with that. When it comes to picture, when it comes to motion, one thing I could say about the Sony TVs, especially with the XR processor, they are one of the best that I have seen in 2022. As I'm capturing all this footage of the Sony A95K on my camera, the Sony A7 IV, I'm just simply in awe at the picture quality, especially when it comes to depth and detail, and when it comes to color and brightness and shadow detail and blacks. The Sony A95K delivers. Now, if you're looking for a TV that is more accurate out of the box, the Sony A95K should be on your short list as one of the TVs to choose from for 2022. When it comes to upscaling, I think Sony is one of the best TVs that's out for 2022, especially when it comes to 1080p content. 480p, you only could do so much with that, and even 720p. But I think Sony does a better job compared to the other competitors when it comes to upscaling in 4K, and especially when it comes to watching sports or any of the lower res content. I think Sony does a better job than the rest. So let's go ahead and talk about the elephant in the room. The pricing of the Sony A95K. So coming at this Sony A95K review, it's going to be challenging because if you look at the Samsung S95B, the 55-inch version is going for $1,699.99 or $1,700, and you had the 65-inch version that's going for $2,099.99 or $2,100. The 55-inch version is going for a price of $3,000 and the 65-inch is going for $4,000. Now at the time of this recording, the 65-inch version of the A95K is going for $3,499.99, and the 55-inch version is still staying at the $3,000 mark. So when it comes to pricing, of course the Samsung S95B will be way better when it comes to value-wise when it comes to the Sony A95B. However, you are going to have people who are into picture more than value, and that's where I think the Sony A95K should be on your short list as one of the TVs to go for. The S95B, the Samsung, is a great TV. Yeah, I mentioned it's definitely a recommendation, especially at the price point that it's at right now. But you do have to do a lot of tweaks to get that TV picture to look the way that it's supposed to. So when it comes to Sony wise, I only had to do minor tweaks, switch it to custom settings, and I'm pretty much getting the picture that you're looking at right now. And that's one thing that I could say about Sony is that they pride themselves as having one of the best processors when it comes to that detail and depth, and when it comes to more better pictures when it comes out of the box. Now, this TV that I'm reviewing right now is not calibrated. Everything that you're seeing is default settings, except for what I just mentioned that I switched to the picture to custom, and I pretty much had it on gradation preferred when it comes to looking at certain HDR content. When it comes to Dolby Vision, when it goes to gradation preferred, I have that off. Sometimes I use live color creation, sometimes I don't, but pretty much everything is strictly out of the box picture settings. But I guess the question remains is, do I recommend the Sony A95K? Absolutely. I think it's one of the best TVs for 2022. Yes, this TV is pricey. If this TV was at a similar price than Samsung, then it's, wow, no question, this would be one of the best TV to get. So right now, as it stands of the day of this recording, the 65-inch A95K is going for $3,500, which I think is a way better value and better price than what it was originally at $4,000. I wish Sony had started at the pricing at $3,500 and then going towards Black Friday, get to a $3,000 mark on the 65-inch, and then on the 55-inch, go around the $2,000 mark. That's something that I think that this will be a great TV to purchase if it hovers around that price. But if price is no object, go ahead and pick this TV up. You're not going to have any issues when it comes to picture quality, eARC, when it comes to casual gaming. Yes, it is lacking some gaming features, especially when it comes to the game bar and the lack of HDMI 2.1. Those are a couple of the negatives that I have right there, and especially when it comes to the HDMI signal format, that is one of the biggest negatives that I have with this TV. And the last other negative that I have is the size of this TV. The S95B also ran into the same issue as well. I wish that they come out with bigger sizes, a 77-inch version, and even an 83-inch. I know the 77-inch version is going to be coming out next year, but I kind of wish it would have came out this year. But when it comes to picture, I have absolutely nothing bad to say about the Sony A95 TV, and this is something that someone would have to see in person to really see how great this TV is. But I want to go ahead and know your thoughts. Let me know in the comments what you think of the Sony A95K. If you could do me a favor by hitting that like button and that subscribe button, I greatly appreciate it. Until next time, I'll go ahead and see you in the next video. Take care.